Okay, everyone, thanks for waiting. Let's go ahead and get started. We've got a good amount of content to cover here, and I want to make sure that we get you back to work on time. Thanks to everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me here today. You know, SEO is a very hot topic and very important topic for all businesses today, with the importance of the search engines in determining who gets visibility for their business. So this is an important and timely presentation, and thank you for taking the time to join me. I just want to let you know I will be sending out a recording of this webinar to everybody, so no need to take intense notes. You know, you'll get the recording and you can go back through it anytime you'd like at your own pace. And also just want to let you know that I won't be stopping for questions throughout the presentation, just to make sure that we get done on time. So if you have any questions, please chat them in to the box that is below this presentation. There's a chat box down there, and if you chat your questions in there, I will do my best to address them at the end of the webinar here, assuming we have time and assuming I know the answer right away. Otherwise, if we are out of time or it's something that I need to do a little bit of homework on, I will make sure that somebody from my team or myself follow up with you after the webinar directly to answer any questions that you have. Okay? So again, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me. The topic of today's presentation is SEO Uncovered, the 7 secrets every business must know to legally steal floods of free Google traffic from your competition. Again, a very important topic right now for businesses as search engines continue to become more and more important in the overall business marketing formula. Before we get into the meat of the presentation, I want to make sure that we all know what SEO is and that we get on the same page in terms of a common definition, just so we're talking about the same thing here throughout this presentation. Here's the one that I use. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is the process of improving the visibility of a website or a web page in search engines via the unpaid or natural or organic search results. Okay, so let's do that one more time. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is the process of improving the visibility of a website or a web page in search engines via the unpaid or natural or organic search results. Okay, so I hope that that is a definition that we can all work with. And what I want to make sure of is that everybody knows what I'm referring to when I say unpaid or natural or organic search results, because I still run into a lot of people who aren't exactly clear what that means, and that's really important in this presentation. So let me just show you a screenshot here to make sure I illustrate exactly what I mean. This is a search engine result page known as a SERP from Google. And as you can see, I searched for Apple computers, and there's all kinds of results that pop up here for Apple computers. Well, what I've done is I've drawn up these little green boxes and arrows to illustrate that the top results at the very top there, and you'll see it's kind of a yellow shaded area, and then off to the right there, you'll notice that it says sponsored links on top of both of those sections. Those are paid advertisements. So someone is paying Google to make sure that those results are showing on this page when I type in Apple computers. Okay, so those are paid advertisements. Whereas the organic results, the results that are showing up more to the lower left, these are the results that Google believes are the best match for the search term that I typed in there. And nobody can pay to be here. You cannot cut a check to Google directly and say, hey, I would like to be in those results. These organic results, again, are what Google believes are the right things to show based on the keywords that you punched in there. So this is what we're trying to impact with SEO. These organic or natural results, the unpaid results, are what we're trying to impact with SEO. We're trying to get your site to rank highly for the specific keywords that you're targeting. So if you were selling Apple computers, then your objective would be that when somebody types in Apple computers, that your site would show up there. Okay? So I hope that's clear to everybody now. I just want to make sure that we are all really clear on that distinction before we move forward, since the the presentation really wouldn't make much sense if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about there. Now, one of the other great things about SEO is that it's what we refer to as inbound marketing. As a rule, people prefer to find things on their own and not be interrupted by advertisements, right? Or cold calls or emails in their inbox. Just as a rule, if they can find things on their own or be referred to by a friend that's had a positive experience, that's generally the way that people like to find things. So SEO is an inbound type of marketing because people are out there searching. They're actively searching for some sort of product or service or some sort of solution, right? We're not just throwing an advertisement in front of them. They are actually going and finding something on their own. They're searching in Google on their own. So this form of inbound marketing has a lot of credibility, and it establishes a much more valuable relationship typically versus paid advertisements. People continue to get bombarded with paid advertisements, and they continue to get more and more skeptical about paid advertisements. And that's not to say that paid advertisements don't work. Believe me, they do. We all know they do. But again, there seems to be a higher filter, a higher wall that you have to overcome in terms of establishing trust with somebody versus when they go out and find it on their own. So organic results are believed to have more credibility than paid advertisements. So before we get into discussing exactly how to approach SEO at your business, I want to address the misconceptions of SEO, because SEO really is, more than any other form of online marketing, shrouded in mystery and misconceptions. And there's some pretty persistent ones that I want to make sure that we clear up. The first one is that SEO is free marketing. And while it's true that once you get a website ranked high in the organic rankings, you will enjoy unpaid traffic to your website, the reality is that SEO does require work and typically does require spending money to get well placed in the organic results nowadays. Certainly in competitive niches, that's definitely true. So while SEO is definitely cost effective, and like I said, once you have a well-placed website, you will get lots of unpaid traffic, but optimizing that website isn't free. It requires time, expertise, labor, and all of those things cost money. And the second is that SEO doesn't work, right? And this one's pretty easy to disprove because SEO is one of the more measurable marketing methods available to small businesses, and that's absolutely true. And we can show you some data on that. But the data shows that SEO is remarkably effective and it's efficient. It's a very powerful way to promote your business. So we'll cover that here in a bit. Another misconception is that SEO is some sort of black magic or modern day voodoo. That there's some hidden secrets to making it work that only a handful of people have access to. That's definitely not the case. As a matter of fact, SEO is probably one of the most quantitative, kind of left brain marketing methods around. And, SEO experts tend to be much more comfortable with spreadsheets than they do with tea leaves. So there's lots of great education out there about SEO. lots of testing that goes on, and methodical reporting about what's working. So SEO professionals are nowadays a well-trained group of people, and it's not just some black magic. There's proven methodologies. Alternatively, there's this misconception that SEO is rocket science and that there's no hope for you to learn it, your business. And I admit that SEO can get pretty technical, and some of the language around it and approaches to it can be, like I said, a little technical if you're not really comfortable with technology. But at the same time, the things that are most effective tend to be pretty basic, pretty simple, and pretty straightforward. So certainly something that over time I think anybody can learn. And lastly, some will say that SEO is either unethical or downright illegal. There are no laws on the books that address search engine optimization. The search engines certainly do have their own rules that they try to maintain, and their own kind of internal police force to make sure that nobody is doing anything outright manipulative to get results in their search engines. And I don't think that there's any problem with that. That keeps the search engines kind of a fair game for everyone. So ethical SEO is not at odds with the search engines. And like I said, there are definitely some unscrupulous people out there who are seeking to manipulate the search engines using deceptive approaches. That's known as black hat SEO. You may have heard that term. But the focus of this presentation is on white hat SEO. These are just honest, straightforward tactics and strategies that are actually endorsed by the major search engines themselves. So we are not doing anything illegal or unethical, and not advocating that in any way in this presentation. All right, the reality is that SEO is a form of legitimate internet marketing, and it's practiced by almost all of the major companies out there. And I would say all of the major companies out there where search engines in any way impact their business, they are all practicing some sort of SEO strategy. So this is something that you should feel comfortable that major businesses are doing, and that you can feel comfortable doing for your business as well. All right, so I always like to address the who cares question head on, because a lot of people wonder, well, okay, I know that I can spend money on SEO. I know that probably some of you have spent money on SEO at one time or another and maybe not seen the results that you were looking for. But I can assure you that there is quantifiable data to demonstrate the value of SEO. So if you register for this webinar, chances are pretty good that you have some idea of why SEO is important. But maybe there's still some skeptics out there, and the stats on these slides here should help. As you can see, everyone is online. I mean, over 2 billion people online. And when you consider that there are still parts of the world that really don't have access to affordable internet, and those are large populations of the world actually, really just about everybody in the modernized world where bandwidth is available, just about everybody is online. I mean, across all age groups, all nationalities, all income ranges. The online experience really has become just a major part of our life. 93% of online experiences begin with a search engine. And those search engines, there's the big three. There's Google, Bing, and Yahoo. And actually, most people don't know that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world now, right behind Google. And people don't necessarily consider it just a search engine. It's a video marketing platform, so it doesn't really make the list of the top search engines all the time. But most people, when they think search engines, they think Google, Bing, and Yahoo. And most people start their online experience using one of those search engines to go to whatever content that they're looking for. So, the reality is that the far majority of people are online, and that they are using search engines very frequently. Diving deeper into that who cares question, 77% of searchers use organic over paid listings, right? They prefer organic over paid listings, and I think that goes to what I talked about earlier in the presentation, where there is this skepticism about paid advertisements, and people would rather refer to the organic listings because they feel like they have more credibility. 67% choose organic search results when purchasing. So well over half, almost 70%, choose organic search results when purchasing. And organic click-through rates generate 25% higher conversion rates than pay-per-click ads. That's what PPC is, pay-per-click ads. So those are paid advertisements. So again, there's just tremendous benefit to being in the organic listings. You can see that people prefer organic listings and they trust them more, which is why they're getting so much higher conversion to a sale than pay-per-click ads. So really, really important for a business to make sure that you're getting in those organic rankings. The unpaid listings are where it's at. So if you can get your website to show up in those top organic results, you're essentially in the pole position as a business, right? You've got the lead over the competition. More buyers will see your website, and a higher percentage of those will become customers. So you can see where I'm going this. The point I'm trying to hammer home is that search engines are very valuable to your business. And let's talk about just exactly how valuable they are, because there's some great data that can help you quantify this. Let's consider that you are in the auto insurance business, right? And you sell auto insurance locally or maybe nationally, and you're a broker. You're trying to get ranked in Google so that you can find some customers through the organic rankings. Now, auto insurance, I'm just using as an example just because there's lots of good data around it, but this is a very, very competitive term. So it's very hard to get ranked for, but it's good to illustrate the value of the organic ranking in the marketplace. So, excuse me, let's look at the number of searches and the cost per click. This is information coming right out of Google's advertising tools. And you can see here, for the term auto insurance, there are over 100,000 searches each month for this term. And Google places the approximate cost per click, you can see over there on the right-hand side, at $63.31. So every single click valued at over $60, which means that you would likely have to pay at least that much per click if you wanted to advertise for this term in those paid ads that you saw there in the earlier search engine screenshot that I showed you. That's a lot of money. Considering maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 10, if you're doing really, really well, is actually going to become a lead and maybe a customer. So that's a lot of money. But insurance is a very lucrative business, and this is a very competitive term with some very cash-rich companies. So they're definitely bidding up the costs on these terms. Now, let's do some simple arithmetic and say that you took the number of searches, 110,000, and you multiplied it by the cost per click, $63.31, and you can see that's nearly $7 million in the monthly value of that traffic. Nearly $7 million every month just for that one term, and there's a lot of terms that people search for related to auto insurance. It's not just this term. So how much then, is being ranked very highly in Google worth? Well, if you look at the way that Google traffic breaks down based on your rank in the search engines, you can see that it's good to be at the top there. The top 3 results get virtually all of the action, about 2/3 of the traffic. And you can see that if you're ranked number 1, you get 42% of all traffic. That's right up here. If you look over at number 2 here, 11.9 or 12% of all traffic, and number 3, 9% of traffic. So you can see the huge advantage that being ranked number 1 has. Number 2, 12%, number 3, 9%, and you can see it drops off very quickly, right? So being ranked at the top of Google for any given term is really, really valuable in terms of the volume of traffic that you get. That first position at 42% gets almost 4 times the traffic of the number 2 position. So it's really good to be number 1. So let's say that you have the number 1 spot in the search engine for auto insurance. Again, very, very competitive term, but the search volume again at 110,000. The cost per click is $63.31, again giving you a value of almost $7 million monthly. Now, if you get 42% of that traffic, that means that you are getting nearly $3 million in organic traffic monthly, and you're not paying for any of those clicks, right? So I think you get the idea as to why SEO is so valuable and important for a business. If you go and you search on Google today, I think it's State Farm Insurance has the number 1 spot for auto insurance when I did a search. They're getting nearly $3 million in organic traffic monthly at no cost for that traffic. Now, I can assure you that they are doing a lot in terms of an SEO team working to get that number 1 ranking and keep it, because it's a very competitive space, but they're certainly not spending $3 million a month. So let's quickly summarize the benefits of SEO for your business. 1, you can get a boost in website traffic. 2, you can increase your visibility among your target audience, right? These are people who are searching specifically for the keywords that you want to be known for. 3, because of the trust factor of organic rankings, you're going to have an easier time building relationships and influence. You're going to have that trust factor over the paid advertisers. And as I showed you earlier, the organic results convert better than paid ads. So you're going to get increased conversions and increased sales. There's very measurable results. You can see your progress. You can see, am I ranked number 3, number 2, number 1? Am I moving up or am I moving down? How is the competition competing against me? All of that can be very well measured in SEO. And then finally, with SEO, the great thing is that the big guys can't just pay to beat you, right? They have to have an SEO strategy just like you, and they can't just say, hey, Google, I'm writing you a check for $100,000, make me number 1. So even as a small business, it's possible to compete against the big guys in any market. And there's some really neat examples out there of small businesses who are doing really well in SEO and really growing their business quickly because of it. So this is not an exhaustive list. SEO has a tremendous amount of benefits, but I think that this is a pretty representative list to communicate why you would want to invest in SEO as a business. Now, at the same time, while there are lots of awesome benefits to SEO, there are definitely some downsides. And anyone that tells you otherwise isn't setting the right expectations. I mean, SEO is a very competitive field, and it's something that you don't control directly, right? You can't control the search engines. They will use whatever formula they want to use to determine which are the right results to show. And while we can do our best to interpret that formula and influence that formula, it's not under our control. So because of that, SEO can be slow to get results. It can be time consuming. It can take months before you start to see any sort of significant improvement, depending on how competitive your market is. As I said, the variables are outside of your control. So the reality is that Google or any other search engine is going to rank sites how they want to rank sites. And you can't know exactly how they're doing that unless, of course, you're working inside of Google. So as you can imagine, if we knew exactly how they were doing that, then it would be very easy for people to manipulate that. So the search engines try to keep their exact formula for ranking sites pretty secret, and they change them all the time. They adjust them based on what they see happening in the market. Also, SEO is not just some sort of one-shot deal. You can't just, hey, I'm going to do SEO for the next week, and then I'm just going to rank number 1 in the search engines. That's not the way it works. It requires consistent effort over time. Again, other people in the marketplace are trying to compete against you and trying to outrank you, and the search engines are changing their formulas all the time. So it's not something that you can just do once and then sit back and relax and assume that you're always going to be well ranked. And finally, there are no guarantees. Not all of your efforts are going to pay off. And some, SEO consultants, you'll like to hear that it's a sure thing that they're going to guarantee you that they're going to get you ranked #1 in Google. I get emails from people all the time saying that they'll get me, ranked #1 in Google guaranteed. Well, I wouldn't trust anyone who says that because, again, they don't control the search engines. Maybe if Larry Page, the founder of Google, was trying to sell you #1 ranking, then that's a possibility. But if any SEO consultant is guaranteeing you that they're going to get you some top position, I would definitely be skeptical. Again, they don't work for Google, they don't own Google, they don't own the other search engines. They cannot guarantee anything. They can do their best, they can apply proven methodologies and practices, but it's a very competitive environment and it's ultimately out of their control. All right, so those are the downsides, those are the challenges of SEO. And like I said, it's important that you understand those challenges going into it to make sure that you have the right expectations for an SEO campaign. All right, so at this point, I think you know how SEO in general can benefit a business. Let's dive into the 7 secrets that every business must know. Again, if you're going to legally steal that Google traffic from your competition, and that's what it's all about, is how do I maximize my share of that traffic that's coming in so that my competitors get pushed down to page 2 or page 3 and get left in the dust, because you've seen that the top rankings in those organic results get huge benefit. All right, so the number one strategy here is that it all starts with keywords and keyword research. Keyword research really is the foundation of SEO. So as I showed you before, keywords are the words and phrases that people are using when they type in to the search engine, right, to find certain products or services. So you must know what it is that your ideal customer is typing in, and you need to target those terms, right? And it's really important that you understand that you've got to find out what the customer is typing in, because oftentimes in whatever industry we're in, we adopt our own language and we get really familiar with certain terms, but those may not be the terms that your customers are using, right? They may not know your industry lingo. So you've got to use keyword research tools to find out what it is that they're searching on. And you've got to do thorough research to make sure that you know where you can compete. You've got to choose your battles, meaning that you can't possibly optimize for every single word, right? Trying to be everything to everyone doesn't work in any situation, and it doesn't work in SEO. You have to prioritize just a handful of keywords per website that you're going to focus your efforts on if you hope to have real success. If you spread yourself too thin, then the search engines will not really understand what your website should be ranking for, right? If you're putting every keyword under the sun into your website, then the search engines are not going to understand why they should rank you for one keyword over the other. So you've really got to focus. You've got to communicate to the search engines and to the marketplace that, hey, our site is about this, and that this needs to be limited to just a handful of keywords. All right, number 2, content is king. Okay, content is king. The search engines feed on content. They are constantly prowling the internet looking for content to display in their search engines. And in particular, they love fresh content. What do I mean by fresh? I mean that they're looking for content that is current and relevant, right? For the most part, they're going to assume that new content is better than old content, right? Because it's up to date. So they're looking for that fresh content all the time. So you need to be on a regular schedule of creating fresh content. This trains Google and the other search engines to keep crawling and indexing your site. They're saying, oh, these people are a good source of regular content, so we're going to keep looking at their site to get more fresh content. So the more you create good, relevant, current content, the more likely that the search engines are going to see you as relevant and do what you're looking for, which is to promote your site as more relevant for those specific keywords. Now, although I said that you need to focus on a handful of keywords, at the same time, when you're creating your content, you don't want to worry about the keywords too much, right? A big mistake that people do is when they're creating their content, they unnaturally stuff too many keywords into their content. It gets to the point where, if a human being is actually reading that content, it seems odd. I mean, you can tell that somebody is just overusing certain keywords to try and manipulate the search engines. You don't want to do that, okay? You only want to include your keywords in a few strategic places and do it very naturally in your content. That's certainly, a best practice that we can help advise you with. All right, number 3 here. Number 3 is to have an active social media presence. It's becoming more and more critical that you have a social media presence to get ranked in the search engines. This is visible today in particular. Right about now, Google is rolling out Google Plus in a big way. They're really trying to ramp that up to compete with Facebook. And the reason why is that they understand, as we talked about earlier, that people prefer to get recommendations about products and services and content from other friends sharing with them, right? There's more trust and more value placed in products and services and content that have been referred to you by somebody that you trust. Well, Google historically has not been involved in social media at all, and they realize in a big way, that they're missing out, and that they potentially have, it's hard to imagine right now because Google is such a part of our, our life, but there's this possibility that they will get displaced by somebody like Facebook because the search engine will no longer become the primary way that you look for information. So you've got to make sure that you have an active social media presence to try to influence that new priority that Google and other search engines are placing on social content and social results. Google Plus is the biggest project in the history of Google. So you can be sure that social has an absolute impact on the search results going forward. Okay? So you can see here this quote from one of the people at SEO Moz, which is a fantastic SEO resource. It says, "The lines of SEO and social media continue to be blurred." Now, this is a screenshot actually of a Google search, and you can see this is actually a video from Google explaining how they're using the social influence in their search results now. And you can see at the very top there that red arrow is pointing to 50 personal results for your search term. So what it's saying is that people that have some sort of content and data related to your search term, and they will show you that at the very top of the search engines. And you can see the little image of a person next to some of the content there, the yellow arrow and then that green arrow up top. That's indicating that somebody that somebody that's in your Google Plus network has created content in there associated with your search term. So they are really starting to bake social results into the search engine, which just means that social media presence is having more and more of an influence on the actual results. So very, very important that you get engaged in social media at your business if you're not already. All right, number 4 here, get links from other high-value websites. In Google's eyes and in the other search engines' eyes, links are essentially votes for your website, right? If somebody takes the time to link to your website and say, on their website to say, hey, here is a website that we think is great for such and such product, and link to your website, again, the search engines see that as a vote for your site. Now, some votes matter than others. This is not a true democracy, right? Some votes matter than others. If you get a vote from a highly authoritative website, then it goes a lot further. So you need to have a strategy to get as many quality links as you can pointing to your website. And that, is a process. You've one got to create good content so that people obviously want to link to you, but generally people will not just link to you without being prompted to. I mean, you need to go out and actually find people that you think are good people to link to you and encourage them to link to you. So you need to have a strategy, and it needs to be a proactive strategy. So before we move on actually from this strategy, I just want to make sure that you understand that something called link trading, which used to be done in the early days of SEO, which was, hey, I'll put a link to your website on my site if you'll put a link to my site on your website. And that worked really well for a period of time because people were getting lots of links. However, Google and the other search engines caught on to that pretty quickly, and now that's actually seen as kind of a negative to your site. So don't just trade links with people. That can actually work against you. All right. Number 5, roll the camera. Google loves video, and video is a really great way to get increased search engine results. If you didn't know, YouTube is actually owned by Google now. Google bought YouTube a handful of years ago, and as I mentioned before, YouTube is actually now the #2 search engine in the world, right behind the main Google search engine, and it's growing like crazy because people love video. The amount of video consumption on the internet is just growing by leaps and bounds every year, and that's why Google bought YouTube, because they realized how influential video was becoming. So if you create videos and associate those videos with the specific keywords, again, that you're trying to target, you have a great chance of getting those videos ranked in Google. Man, I wish we could just go back and create Google, right? That would be nice. And look, you don't need to be the next Steven Spielberg, right? A lot of people don't create video because they think, geez, I can't create some fancy videos. Nobody's going to want to watch my videos. It's not true. In fact, real just kind of casual videos that don't have real high production quality, the kind that you create with just like one of those flip cameras or even the camera on your phone, those are fantastic, and it gives you the opportunity to show your expertise on your industry or your products, or demonstrate your products in a way that's just much more compelling than just putting text on a page. So create those videos, use your keywords in your videos and in the video titles and video descriptions, and do some SEO work on those videos, and you can get those ranked very quickly and very high. It's a very powerful way of increasing your search engine results. All right, strategy number 6 is to leverage channels. And when I say channels, I'm referring to major authority sites out there on the web where you can place content, such as YouTube, Amazon, Craigslist, and even now Pinterest. These sites have already aggregated huge volumes of customers, and they have huge credibility in the search engines. So by getting your content on these channels, you can actually get your content to rank much better than you can get your content to rank on your own website page. Now, the reason for that, again, is that YouTube and Amazon and Craigslist, they have huge credibility with the search engines, much more credibility than your website will ever have. So getting your content ranked from those sites can actually be much, much, much easier. So get your content out on those major sites and work to SEO those. So here's an example. As you can imagine, a keyword phrase like how to lose weight fast is pretty darn competitive and worth a lot of money. You can see right up here, there are 69 million results for this search term. That means there's 69 million websites out there competing for this search term. Now, if you scroll down here and look, inside of this red circle that I've put here, on Amazon.com is a book titled How to Lose Weight Fast, Essential Tips for Fast Weight Loss. Now, if you were to click through and look at this, this is an inexpensive ebook published by an author that I've never heard of, and here she is, ranked #1 on Google for this very competitive term because she is able to leverage Amazon's credibility with the search engines. Okay? So that's the power of channels. You want to get your content out on those channels and get those channels to rank for you. It's very, very powerful. All right, next, strategy number 7 is if you're a local company, if you're selling, in local markets. So maybe you're a Denver catering company, and you're just selling your catering services to companies in the Denver area. You really must optimize for local keywords, because if you're trying to optimize just for catering in general, you're probably going to get crushed by some national competitor or some big New York catering firm or something like that that's going to own that term. So you can't, if you're really focused on a local market today, you can't just be so general that the search engines think that you're competing on a national basis. Like I said, unless you take it very, very seriously, you're probably going to get crushed by the national competition. So just as an example, again, going back to that auto insurance term, it's an amazingly competitive term. It would be very difficult to rank for it nationally. Again, you've got these huge national companies like State Farm and Geico, and that are able to put just huge amounts of money into their SEO efforts. So competing against them is going to be tough. But there are lots of people looking for auto insurance in your local market that would search for a term like auto insurance Denver or Denver auto insurance or Colorado auto insurance or something similar to that. While in this case of auto insurance, that's still going to be very competitive, you have a much better chance at ranking for those terms than you ever would for something national. So in order to optimize locally, there's a handful of strategies that are really important. One, make sure that you've got your local keywords in the content. So don't just put auto insurance, put Denver auto insurance or auto insurance Denver. Make sure that your website has your local address, your local phone number. That kind of information really tells the search engines that you are actually a local company. That's really important. Make sure that you get your business listed in all the Google local directories and all the other local directories that are out there, like Yelp, Yellow Pages. Those all mean a lot to the search engines. Create local videos. Demonstrate to people with your videos that you are actually a local company. And that people a lot of times want to do business with a local company instead of somebody national. So really show them you are in fact a local company, and get links from local organizations and businesses. That will mean a lot in your local ranking. So if you can get the local Chamber of Commerce or local trade associations or business organizations to link to you, or even other businesses that you work with to link to you, that can do a ton to boost your rankings locally. All right, we said that there were 7 strategies, but we're going to give you 8. Actually, we're going to give you 9. We've got a couple bonuses for you here. So bonus secret number 1 here, create content for people. Okay, it's easy to get caught in this trap of trying to create content just to manipulate the search engines, right? And that's a big mistake. One of the most important factors that the search engines will use to make sure that they're ranking the right sites, they'll use statistics about your site to determine who has the actual best content. So there's this term called bounce rate. If you create content that's really just for the search engines and isn't actually good for people to consume, then they're going to bounce from your site to another site very quickly. If the search engines see that, then they are going to penalize your site in the rankings. So you want to make good content that people actually want to consume, because if the people like your content, the search engines will take note. So do everything you can to make it real content. Make it personal. Share your story, right? Create content that will actually really engage people, and you're going to be much better off than somebody who's just trying to game the search engines. All right, bonus secret number 2, be consistent over time. SEO truly is a marathon, not a sprint. So you've got to just keep on trucking, right? If you're in a competitive market, you are likely not going to see significant changes in your results for maybe several months. I always tell people that 3 months is the absolute minimum that they should engage in any SEO campaign, because anything less than that and you're probably not being realistic. So be consistent, create quality content over time, and work your SEO strategy consistently over time. All right, so we're going to move into some questions here in a minute, but before that I wanted to show you just a couple of examples of sites that I thought were doing a good job of just kind of some basic local SEO. You can see in this, we searched for locksmith in New York. As you can imagine, in New York City, locksmith are that's a very competitive business. There's obviously a lot of need for them. People locking themselves out of their apartments or out of their cars, things like that. So it's a very competitive business from an SEO perspective. And this is the site that is ranking #1 in New York City. It's called Artie's Locksmith. And you can see at the top there that they're using, words like locksmith service, that they have a local phone number, right, 212, it's a New York City phone number. And then to the left there, I've circled, you can see that they're using their keywords in their site description. So they've got locksmith, locksmith New York City, locksmith New York, and then in the description below that, Artie's Locksmith with the phone number, the local phone number again there. This is all stuff that influences the search engines. And then again, on the lower right there, you've got their phone number again, and you've got them telling you how long they've been in this area, working in this market for over 85 years, again, to create some good quality content for local people that actually come to the site and read this. So they've done a nice job of optimizing. It's no surprise that they're #1 in a very competitive term in New York City. Here's one. Rhode Island Plumbing is the search term. This is a company that I'm familiar with called Gem Plumbing. Great company out in Providence, Rhode Island area. And as you can imagine, plumbing, again, that's a very competitive term. This is about I think they're closing in on a $100 million a year business. And they do that primarily just through radio commercials and SEO. So they do a really, really nice job of optimizing for a local market. If you go to their website, they tell their local story. It's a family business. They've got pictures of all the people in the family. They have a local foundation in their mother's name who passed away some time ago, where they support a lot of local, nonprofits and things like that. So just a really good local-oriented company, and they do a great job again here in all of their content in illustrating that they are a local company. They got their local phone number out there. They're optimizing for the right keyword terms. So another good example for you to look at. All right, let's jump into some frequently asked questions, because I get a lot of questions about SEO, and I've heard a lot of them over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and address some of these for you here. One, is SEO a good marketing strategy for my particular business? A lot of people think, oh, SEO is, it's good for certain types of industries, but not for mine. Look, if your business gets any traffic from search engines, if people rely on search engines at all to find your business, then SEO is important and it's a worthwhile strategy. Now, I would argue that that is every business. I don't know of any business today that people don't start their research with getting on the search engines. I cannot think of one. If you can think of one, great, let me know. I'd be interested. But really, I think that SEO is important for any business in today's day and age, and I think it's just getting more important. How much time will I need to spend each week on SEO? That's a great question. It really does depend on how competitive your market is and where you're starting from. Do you already have any good content out there or not? Are you starting from scratch? It's really primarily, though, about how competitive your niche is. But most businesses outsource their SEO work, so it's really not done by in-house people that much. The far majority of SEO work is done by consultants and service providers, so you can outsource it so you can focus on your business and taking care of your customers. So I would argue that you will not have to spend much time on this at all, and there's probably not a real good reason for you to invest in your own time in learning SEO and doing it every day, unless that's what you decide you want to do for a living. How can I avoid the common mistakes that businesses make with SEO? This is a good question. Again, I think working with an expert that has already has a lot of experience, has already seen some of the pluses and minuses of certain SEO strategies, has already tested and seen what works in real time. I think that that's important. I think having a plan going into it and knowing that it's not just an overnight solution is really important. So understanding what your plan is, how much you're going to invest in it, and sticking with it, I think is really, really important. But just getting outside help is a big factor. How and how much effort should I spend on SEO? Again, I would just suggest that the majority of the actual SEO work should be done by outside parties, outside consultants. Your work will be primarily helping to create some sort of content related to your business so that the SEO professional has some good content to refer back to in those search engines. So, how much time that takes, that really is, again, up to you. You can outsource a lot of that content creation, so it's up to you how much you want to budget to have it outsourced versus do it yourself. And it also depends on the intensity of kind of the strategy that you're taking. I mean, you could create a new piece of content every day, or once a week, or once a month. So it just depends on how aggressive that you're trying to be. So I hate to say it depends, but it largely does depend. How important is keyword research? We talked about this. Keyword research is absolutely critical. You've got to make sure that you're focused on the right keywords, or you really could be just fighting an uphill battle, or just doing a lot of work for something that's not going to get much return for you. So absolutely start with keyword research. How important is link building? Link building is very important. In fact, there are a lot of studies today that show that link building is the #1 factor in getting your site ranked. I mean, other than, obviously, you have to have the basic content on there and have it, focused on the right keywords. But after that, links are really the #1 thing when it comes to building your SEO ranking. So, it is important. It is something that to do well takes time, and there is an investment, of time involved in that. And that's really what is invested is time. You've got to go out and build relationships with people, and get them to see your content and try and link to it. Should I hire an SEO consultant to do all of this for me? I think that for the most part the answer is yes. Again, most people just don't have the expertise to do this, but even if you do have the expertise, the real issue is the time. I mean, it's an issue of what should you be focused on. In most cases, you should be focused on your core business and improving your products and services and taking care of your customers. SEO can be done by somebody else on a very part-time basis, very affordably for your business. So most likely not something that you should be spending your time on directly. You should hire a professional to do it for you. If I'm redesigning my website, when should I start thinking about SEO? This is a great question. The reality is that you should start thinking about SEO before you ever start redesigning your website. SEO needs to be baked into the actual design of the site to get the best results. So start thinking about SEO from the very first day. Start thinking about the keywords that you want to rank for. Do that research in advance before you ever start actually building out that newly redesigned site. What things will get me in trouble with the search engines? This is really important. I think a lot of people have probably heard of the Google slap. The Google slap is when Google determines that somebody is doing something deceptive or manipulative to try to rank in the search engines, and then they actually punish you by pushing your site way down in the search engines or even removing them altogether. So obviously you don't want to get in that situation with your business. The way to avoid this is to not do anything that's black hat in nature. Like I said before, black hat really is the stuff that's deceptive and manipulative. You want to work with good white hat SEO practices, which means that you want to work with a professional. You want to ask them about white hat versus black hat and what their position is on that, so that you can find somebody with integrity that you trust. Read up on the search engines kind of terms and conditions and their actual guides to ranking well in the search engines. They will tell you what they want you to do and what they don't want you to do, and generally you need to follow those rules. So again, I think the most important thing, if you're hiring somebody to help you, find somebody that you think has integrity, talk to them about white hat versus black hat, let them know that you don't want to do anything that's going to potentially risk your business's reputation with the search engines. All right, next, if I hire someone, how can I be sure they won't use black hat techniques? I really just covered that. Again, just make sure that you have a real open conversation with them. Make sure that they know your stance on black hat tactics, and that that you want them to really stay, above board in terms of their approach, and that they should only use white hat approaches. All right, how else can I improve my rank? One, ask Google for advice. And what I mean by that is there's the Google's webmaster guidelines, and pretty much every search engine has something like this that virtually tell you everything that you need to know. I mean, they will tell you how they want you to create content and promote that content in their search engine so that they can have the best chance of ranking it well for you. So read up, understand their motives, their incentives, understand their rules, and do your best to play within their rules. Keep things white hat, as I said, and really importantly, install Google Analytics on your site. If you haven't already, Google Analytics is a free tool from Google, fantastic tool to measure how your content is doing, where people are spending time on your site, what keywords they're using to get to your site. Use that information to adjust your approach over time to make sure that you're creating content that is really relevant for your audience and is working with your audience. All right, let's go ahead and start to wrap things up here. I really appreciate your time, and I know we're coming up right at the hour. So, I guess just in wrapping this up, I want to say that, SEO has tremendous benefits, but it certainly is not a slam dunk, right? It's not a silver bullet. There is a time commitment. There is complexity. You do have to create content on a regular basis, which I know is a new thing for a lot of people. There's a lot of established competition out there, especially, again, if you're in a real competitive industry. There are people out there that have been at this for years, so you're going to have to plan on taking some time to break in. Link building can be laborious and slow. It really is, a manual effort of reaching out to people. So all of this takes time. It takes time to to achieve the results that you're looking for. And if you go into it with the mindset that this is just going to happen overnight, it's just not going to be successful for you. You need to take a more long-term approach to it. Find good consultants that you can trust. Work with them to lay out a plan for you that is realistic over time, and stick with that plan and follow it methodically, and you will start to get great results over time. Now, the good thing is that SEO is absolutely worth it. The ROI of SEO is well documented, and a highly ranked website works for you 24/7, right? Even when your sales team is asleep, there are people out there searching, and if you've got a good, well-ranked website, it's working for you 24/7. And finally, it's a very sellable asset, right? If you have a website that's ranked well for a competitive term, you can sell those websites for a lot of money today. So it is really an asset that you're building at your company. There's a small business survey that was done by Merchant Circle and Reply.com. They asked a bunch of small businesses, if you had to put all of your marketing time and budget into only one channel, what would it be? The answer was SEO. SEO is considered the single most important marketing channel for SMBs. And again, that was in a survey by Merchant Circle and Reply.com of 2,500 US small businesses. The reason why is that SEO works, okay? Now, I know that's a lot of content, and I know there's a lot to digest, and if you are new to SEO, this can seem a bit overwhelming and you may not be sure where to start. Well, look, I just want to encourage you. You can do it. It is very worthwhile for your business, and it's something that we can certainly help you with. If you're looking for somebody to help you strategize about your approach, or maybe even actually do the SEO work on a regular basis, this is something that we do for other companies as well. And if you think that we can be a resource for you, we'd love to hear from you and see if we can help. Okay? So again, thank you very much for joining me on this presentation. We are at an hour now, so I'm going to go ahead and respond to questions individually, offline. I'll either follow up with a phone call or an email to make sure I get to your questions so that we can make sure that everybody can get back to work. But thank you again for taking the time. I appreciate it. I hope that you learned something valuable. And again, if you believe that we can be of some sort of assistance in your SEO process and helping you kind of formulate that or actually do the SEO work, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, and all of our contact information is on the page here right around this presentation. All right, thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you.